Ah dear, my fellow gasogenicists. Here's a little update on the Victory Gasifier. This machine has given me some 1589 hours of operation. Unfortunately, it's pretty much the end of the line for this thing. Mainly because, well, gasifier's gone. Went to light it up one day and, well, it was just gone. Don't know where it went. Used to feed the gas into there, but now it's either transparent or gone. So, luckily for me, there's one just like it out here. Let's have a look. Oh, here it is. Oh, there's Mr. Camel. He donated the fluff for the filter on my gasifier for the next 2 years. His unwrappings will be cleaning up the gas. Anyway, back to this. In the good old days when this gasifier worked, we had our air ignition port here and our air preheat intake here. Now, unfortunately, after some 1580 odd hours of operation, the gasifier is burnt up. It's what we scientists call completely and utterly faulty. You thought I was going to say fuzzed, didn't you? Well, here's the interior from the gasifier. You can see inside here, it used to have 5 nozzles. As you can see, one of them is completely missing. The anchor point for it is completely burned out. And the rest of the nozzles are absolutely shot. In fact, most of the metalwork here is shot through, so I can't really repair it. I've got to do a pretty major rebuild on him. Where that nozzle used to be, if I can get down there, you can see, well, it's a bit hard to spot, well, you can see it, the metalwork is completely broken away. So, for quite some time, this gasifier was mixing air and pyrolysis gas with the output gas stream, which would explain why things were overheating and running poorly. So you can see on this, the corresponding points. We have our air preheat intake and our ignition port here, which coincides with one of the nozzles on the ring there. Looking more closely at this interior component, we have 2 layers here. So a total of 3 layers is offered by this gasifier. The wood carrying chamber, the air preheat zone, and then of course the outer wall. So this was a fairly well developed gasifier in its time. Ben Peterson, the creator of this, probably didn't know just how long it was going to last when he created it. So it has done pretty well. Unfortunately, it's in a state of stuffitude now. Let's have a look at the bottom half of this, eh? Bear with me while I invert it. Alrighty then. We have our 3 hanging points for the grate. One there. We have what's left of the charcoal chamber, and in the middle the utter wreckage of what was a reduction tube. That was stainless steel. It still is, but it's landfill now. That there was solid stainless steel pipe, 1/8 of an inch thick. Now it's down to less than a 64th maybe 128th in certain points. You can see right there. It's ridiculously thin, and it's become fragile such that if you hit it with a hammer it breaks like eggshells. So the breakage of that certainly hasn't helped. Then if we look at other places where time has taken its toll, right in here where my big clumsy fingers went, you can see there's a dirty great hole in there. Metal fatigue and an explosion of some sort have blown a hole through the air preheat chamber wall. All the way up here you'll see lots and lots of weld. Over the years I've been welding and re-welding this in an attempt to keep it complete, but ultimately it's been a losing battle. Ultimately I knew that this would get to the point where it was unusable. So now I need to look at my options for how to recreate this. The outer portion appears to be in pretty good order. The flange at the base is in good condition. The welds are pretty damn tidy. I'll probably need to go over a few of them just to make sure. The outlet port, all in good order. So that can become the outer barrel for what may end up becoming a Flashifier gasifier. It's a flash gasser. And maybe this in some modified form could become the interior of a Flashifier. I hope the wind isn't messing up the soundtrack. I've got a piece of cloth stuck on the front of the camera to serve as a sort of wind sock. But what I'd like to think I can do is maybe hack the middle out of this and keep most of this right up to here, and perhaps put a steel disc there, stainless steel of course, and place a new hearth in that location. So there'll be the usual cone at the top for the reaction to occur in, and the reduction tube that would be dipped into a whole bunch of charcoal. In my version of this gasifier I had a stainless steel pan that occupied most of this room, and it sat inside this, making it quite hard for the gas to escape. The result being that the gas would come out cool and clean, and it worked so well that you could get a blue flare directly from the gasifier most of the time. So failing that objective, should I not be able to take this apart and rejig it in a suitable way, the alternative may well be this. It's a 40 litre or 10 gallon air compressor tank. I'd like to think, I ain't too good at thinking, I'll try it anyway, till it starts to hurt too much, that this could become the interior of the new gasifier. Cut one end off, set it up as a lid, modify the other end and set that up to facilitate the hearth assembly. Then lovingly lift the whole thing up and stuff it down the hole, gently of course. So I've got a couple of options there. Talking of other things that this gasifier used to have, it used to have this lid. You may remember one of my other videos where I mentioned it was breaking. That was situated something like this, and the lid would close onto that, attached with these bolt holes that go around the flange. The metalwork had fatigued to such a point that there were dirty great holes in this, and it was letting air in, so it was working more like a femur most of the time. That is basically shot. The only part that's any good really is the flange, the phalange on the top there. Now lucky for little old me, this here 9 kilogram gas cylinder remnant, 20 pound I think that is, gas cylinder, happens to be the same size around as that broken neck on that thing is. So that there, in some fashion, could be hot melt glued with an arc welder onto there, and some portion of this can become the new hopper, the thing where you put the wood in. A lid. Could be put there. Coffee could be put there. And that facilitates the rest of the metalwork. I need to have a think about how I'm going to combine what I've got left here with what this gasifier needs to get him going again. We're in the middle of summer right now, and it's plenty warm, there's plenty of sunshine, the solar panels are keeping the electricity going. But, well, that ain't gonna last forever. It'll probably come to an end in winter or something like that. The summer usually does. Oh yeah, to take this thing apart, I had to very, very gently beat the hell out of it. Various angle grinders, and this big one here, that really made it let go. So, between all those and hammers and various other tools, I was able to very lovingly wrench the guts out of this. So that's one thing that needs to be fixed. And going through here, where Gertrude, my tractor, lives. She's asleep right now, so don't wake her up, huh? Got some fair amount of fixing to do on this. It's stood the test of time pretty well, actually, I must say. Most stuff on it works. The car battery is pretty well boogered, so I've got to put a new one on and improve this high-tech regulator system. That there was what I used to limit the current for battery charging. Wasn't really the best, so I'm thinking I might put some electronical stuff in there, as that's going to be way more better. Let's see what actually works on this, eh? Turn on the power. Oh, that's cool. The computer for the gas mixer still works. That's nice to know. It's going to be a while before it's pressed into service again, though. Let's see what else works. Try the igniters, eh? Oh, yeah, recognise that tune. I dare you to put your tongue on that. It's going to be a bit more than a 9-volt battery's worth of shock power. Now let's try the other igniter. That one seems to work too. So most of the stuff on this still seems to be working. Knobs probably still turn. Yeah, that's good. The paint is still black. That's okay. That might be just dust actually. Fairly good. Oh yeah, I used to have 3 blowers here, but a rather serious gas explosion literally shattered them. They went off like grenades, and it took me a fair old while to pick all the bits of blower out of my skin and out of my hair. And the ringing sound in my ears kept on going for a fair old bit too. So I don't recommend exploding your blowers in any situation where you might be nearby. Oh yeah, this dirt down here, that's charcoal that came out of the gasifier when I pulled it to bits and pieces. Most of it ended up in here, into the Charlex gas tank. This little tank here is a bit smaller, maybe, I don't know, 8 gallons maybe, instead of 10 like the other tank I showed you just a few minutes ago. I've filled that to about 75% of the way with the charcoal that I got out of there, and fired this little puppy up. It just happened to be a cold day when I was doing it, and the heat from this when I ran the engine for the next 2.5 hours was mighty welcome. Kept me warm, kept the lights going, and kept me company. because, well, you got to satisfy your wood gas fix needs somehow, and that's how I did it. While I was pulling this poor little puppy to bits, this one was eating its entrails and having a fine time making electricity and hertz and volts and amps and watts and other really delicious things that generators like to make. Yeah, so in the meantime, solar power and gasolines may be called upon to finish the job on this. Okay, my good friends in Woodgas land, that there's the sad story of the Victory Gasifier, which has pretty much come to an end for the time being. I'm pretty sure I can fix it. It's just a lump of metal after all, and all I've got to do is hit it with a hammer and stick it back together with my hot melt glue gun. So fellas and fella S's, if you all got any old ideas about how I'm going to do this, please do feel free to drop a comment in the videos. Now, for a close look at my asses. Hee-haw.